Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
Sonic. How I hate him. Every defeat, every humiliation at the Hedgehog's hands will be returned 1,000-fold. This is my dream come true. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, the Eggman.
We're doing Sonic again.
Yes, I'm Kyle.
I'm Kira.
And we're doing our follow-up to the Sonic episode. Listeners, tell us what you think about us doing a revisit right after the initial discussion. We did it with Hamilton, now we're doing it with Sonic. Mm-hmm. I think it's good if it takes 2 episodes. If it takes more than 2, we'd have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we just have so many outstanding series we have to revisit, so we want to get Sonic done now. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be finishing the Sonic timeline and the story and the lore.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about, prior to the games, the history of the Sonic world. We also talked about how Sonic is pretty misogynist and not very good with gender at all. Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention, though.
What?
Chaos, non-binary icon.
Yes.
Actually, I love Chaos. I like to think that when Chaos went back with Tikal's soul and the Master Emerald, that there was like that they were kind of like, I ship it.
Okay, then.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get to the story. Last time we just ended after Sonic Adventure 2 when Shadow died. So
did we?
Yes, so that's where we're going to pick up.
Okay.
You go first, Kira.
All right, Sonic Advance. Eggman converted more animals into robots and tried to gather the Chaos Emeralds, but Sonic stopped him by defeating him.
Sonic Advance 2. Eggman kidnapped Tails and Knuckles and tried to gather the Chaos Emeralds again. Sonic rescued them, along with Cream the Rabbit along the way, and defeated Eggman.
Meanwhile, Eggman acquired samples and research related to Shadow's creation, and he began mass-producing android versions of him to use in his army, but they were put in stasis until he could find a way to reliably control them. Metal Sonic used the opportunity to go rogue, upgrade himself into Neo Metal Sonic, refuse to obey Eggman, and lock him away in a cell.
That's a lot. So yeah. Metal Sonic basically has just gotten his own agency.
Yep.
I kind of like the idea of Eggman being locked away in a cell.
Yes.
I mean, just considering his crimes and whatnot, but I also like... Metal Sonic's cool. I like Metal Sonic usurping him. Mm-hmm. So, Sonic Heroes. Eggman anonymously contacted Team Chaotix, which consisted of Espio, Charmy, and Vector, as detectives, and offered them money to come to his aid. Rouge accidentally activated a prototype Shadow android and E123 Omega, who had been guarding him. Rouge convinced Shadow and Omega to team up with her and get revenge upon Eggman for his treatment of them. Mm-hmm. So the Shadow from here on out is an android copy of the original Shadow.
I see.
The game's a little ambiguous about that. There is some material that's like, no, it's the real... He was in a pod. Mm-hmm. And we saw him die.
Yep.
I also want to mention Team Chaotix are kind of... Like they're like cops almost. They're detectives. They're private private investigators. There's not much to like about them, and they really love money. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think it's hilarious that they don't know the entire time that their client they're working for is actually Eggman himself. Mm-hmm. They're being duped. Literally in the Team Chaotix theme song, they even reference this by saying like, only they have what it takes to defeat Eggman's call. And it's like, call, because he literally called them. All right, let's move on.
Neo Metal Sonic pretended to be Eggman and taunted various heroes to challenge him so that he could acquire data to further upgrade himself. He gathered Sonic's data from Team Sonic, consisting of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. He gathered the Ultimate Lifeforms data from Team Dark, consisting of Shadow, Rouge, and Omega. He gathered Chaos's data from Team Rose, consisting of Amy, Cream, and Big. Cream had 2 pet Chow, Cheese and Chocola. The latter she rescued from being kidnapped.
Upon attaining all of their data, Neo Metal Sonic revealed himself before them and initiated a robotic transformation using Eggman's robot army, turning into Metal Madness and then Metal Overlord. Team Sonic, Dark, Rose, and Chaotix all worked together to defeat Metal Sonic. When everyone went their separate ways, Shadow and Omega took pity on Metal Sonic and repaired him. Actually, I really like that. It's like the two androids helping out the other android or robot, whatever. I think Sonic Heroes is underrated, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think, they tried a different gameplay mechanic, and it was fun, and there was a story. I mean, obviously I was sad there was no Chow, but whatever.
There were 2 Chow.
You couldn't raise them. Those were Cream's Chow. It's not the same. I want my own Chow.
Sonic Battle. Eggman recovered the long-lost android Emerald, and tried to use him as an ultimate weapon. However, he dumped Emerald for being broken, but Sonic and his friends managed to give Emerald a purpose in life. Emerald fought Eggman on his Death Egg 3, but Eggman took advantage of his programming and made Emerald try to destroy the world. So Sonic had to reluctantly destroy Emerald to save the world.
That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
Emerald spent like his whole life being broken. Remember he went on a rampage on the Ark as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention though with Metal Sonic, I like to think that after Metal Sonic, he's just kind of like his own rogue agent. He might listen to Eggman in the future, but if he's doing so, it's only because he chooses to do so. He's not just a robotic slave anymore. Sonic Advance 3. Eggman reverse-engineered the remains of Emerald and created his own android called Gemerald. They used the Chaos Emeralds to break the world into pieces to make it easier to conquer. However, Gemerald tried to kill everything, and Supersonic and Eggman teamed up to defeat Ultimate Gemerald. Afterwards, Sonic's friends reprogrammed Gemerald to regain Emerald's memories. Emerald returned to being peaceful and settled down to live with Cream and her mother, Vanilla the Rabbit.
Aww.
Yeah. I'm curious as to the context. So it's like, does Emerald have like the consciousness of like a kid and is like friends with Cream and is basically Cream's sibling now? Or is like, is he more like mature and older and possibly dating Vanilla, Cream's mother? Is he a parental figure?
It's weird that they mention Cream's mother because they've never mentioned any of the parents.
I think Cream's supposed to be younger than the rest of them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd have to read the dialogue to know the context of that. So it's one or the other.
Yeah, it's weird.
But they're a family. That's what's important.
Sure. By this time, the United Federation was led by a different president, and the commander of Gun had a personal vendetta against Project Shadow. This commander had been a civilian friend of Maria on the Ark, who lucky to have been evacuated, though he blamed the whole incident on Shadow.
Meanwhile, Eggman began using various models of Shadow androids, though they had not much more intelligence than the standard Badnik. Eggman did not want them all to have as much free will as the one Shadow android that had already escaped.
Alright.
I mean, I guess that would explain why they weren't as intelligent.
Shadow the Hedgehog. The Black Comet returned to this world, and the Black Arms immediately invaded it, searching for the Chaos Emeralds as promised. Black Doom reached out to Shadow specifically to request his help, and Shadow was curious to learn about his past. Shadow chose to become acquainted with the use of various kinds of firearms, and he aided Sonic in going after Eggman, Gun, and eventually Black Doom himself. As Super Shadow, he killed his father in his true form, Devil Doom, and destroyed the Black Comet.
So Shadow found out that the devil was his father, and he killed the devil, i.e. his father.
That's funny.
This is also the game where you find out that Shadow is an android.
Yep.
Or maybe not. Like, Eggman at one point tells him, you're not an android, but I think he's just trying to make Shadow feel better. Because there's alternate endings where it's like, oh, no, you're definitely an android. This game actually has multiple endings. Shadow uses guns. This is a dark game.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it. I honestly think it's underrated. I think Shadow has the most complicated backstory, and I think the most interesting one. This talks about, more police brutality, the United Federation, Gun, some of the most serious topics in the Sonic series. I think it's a good story. Still could have used a Chow World, but I liked the game. I'm just imagining like a little like dark Chow with a gun.
Oh my god, no.
After the Black Arms ordeal, Gunn coerced Shadow to join them as an agent, and they frequently teamed him up with Rouge.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Oh, this one.
When Soliana was celebrating the Festival of the Sun, Eggman kidnapped Elise in a plan to release Iblis from within her and take over the world with it. Gunn sent Shadow and Rouge to steal the Scepter of Darkness from an Eggman facility, but Mephiles was accidentally released. He figured out how to use the Chaos Emeralds for time travel and sent Shadow and Rouge 200 years into the future.
Yes.
Okay, this is the one with time travel.
Oh, yeah. This is where we start getting really deep into the time travel. And, Elise, we talked about her in the last episode on how the whole plot is kind of misogynistic and it's about her crying and whatnot. Mephiles is a really cool villain, though. Like, if Shadow is the evil Sonic, Mephiles is the evil Shadow.
Yep.
Silver the Hedgehog and Blaze the Cat arrived via the same method from 200 years in the future and fought Sonic to try to change their past. Eggman tinkered with a machine called the Solaris Prototype to send Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles into the future as well. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Rouge eventually returned to this time. Sonic and Amy saved Elise from multiple Eggman kidnappings, while Rouge contacted Omega and gave him a Chaos Emerald, asking him to rescue Shadow in the future.
Apparently, Omega would succeed, as Shadow returned to this time period along with a future version of Omega and Mephiles. Silver and Shadow then traveled to the past to witness the events of the Solaris Project that had led to Mephiles and Iblis. When they returned, they found that Eggman had kidnapped Elise once again, but by this time, his ship had taken such a beating that it exploded, killing both Eggman and Elise, releasing Iblis.
Iblis immediately began destroying the world, and the nations of the world sought someone to blame. Since Mephiles resembled Shadow, an agent for Gunn, they pinned the blame on him. Gunn reprogrammed Omega to apprehend Shadow, who put him in a comatose state in an impenetrable electric prison capsule. Even so, Omega still went into sleep mode to wait for the future to complete Rouge's objective. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But of course, they would immediately pin the blame on Shadow. Gunn's like, yeah, be a military asset, a spy for us, and oh yeah, you're completely expendable.
Yep. 200 years later, Silver the Hedgehog was a Mobian with telekinesis born into Iblis's dominion. Blaze the Cat, a royal from the Soul Dimension, traveled to this world and lived with Silver so he wouldn't have to survive the apocalypse alone. They could never defeat Iblis permanently. Neither version of Mephiles could ever reunite with Iblis because they could never find all Chaos Emeralds, since they didn't know Omega had one in his stasis. The younger Mephiles tricked Silver and Blaze into going back in time and eventually went there himself after fighting past Shadow. Silver and Blaze eventually returned to this time to defeat Iblis. Blaze sealed Iblis within her own soul and used the Chaos Emeralds to banish herself back to the Soul Dimension.
Any questions?
What's the Soul Dimension? Why does Blaze come here in the first place?
She's from an alternate dimension and Silver was lonely.
So was it... How did she meet him, though? Did she meet him while she was in the other dimension?
Look, she's in her own dimension. She's like, let's explore another dimension. Oh, this one's full of ruins and fire. Oh, hey, look, there's one guy trying to survive here. Maybe let's help him out. That's basically it.
Oh, okay, then.
I guess she could have rescued him, but I think Silver kind of wanted to fix his world.
Was she alone in the Soul Dimension? Because it seems like...
Oh, no, the Soul Dimension's perfectly fine.
Well, is it perfectly fine after she goes back with Iblis sealed within her?
She's a pyrokinetic. She has fire abilities already. So
so she's able to control Iblis?
The implication is like, I don't know, they sold it like it was a sacrifice. Like, oh, she's taking on Iblis to save the rest of us. But also she has fire abilities, so she can kind of handle it. She'll probably be fine.
All right, then.
Presently in the second timeline, Sonic instead went back in time to rescue Elise from Eggman's ship, saving both of them. However, future Mephiles killed Sonic in revenge, making Elise cry, and Iblis was released anyway. Using the future Chaos Emeralds, Mephiles was able to reunite with Iblis, becoming Solaris once more, but godly and monstrous now. Elise, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, Rouge, Eggman, and Silver united across time and used the Chaos Emeralds to heal Sonic from the brink of death. Elise kissed Sonic. Super Sonic, Super Shadow, and Super Silver defeated Solaris temporarily.
Okay, then.
Yeah, a lot of people freak out about Sonic kissing, or Elise kissing Sonic. People say it's like bestiality or whatnot, because she's a human, he's an anthropomorphic animal. But again, he's anthropomorphic, so I don't think that's really the issue. It's just basically cross species. Yeah. And as long as both species are intelligent and able to consent, I don't have a problem with it. But you'll notice Sonic didn't consent because he was on his deathbed and unconscious.
Yeah.
So actually, Elise assaulted him.
Wow.
Yay. This storyline is garbage.
Yep.
Again, it could have worked. Yeah. You could have written it with consent. But obviously this story was written by a bunch of men that don't know what consent is.
Yep.
Also, I think it's funny that like Solaris becomes a thing because of Chaos Emeralds, and then the good guys go super with the Chaos Emeralds because with time shenanigans, there's not just 7 anymore. Whatever.
10 years earlier in the third timeline, Sonic and Elise travel back in time to when Solaris was just a vulnerable flame. To prevent Solaris' destruction, they blew out the flame, killing it forever. Solaris had been trying to destroy this entire dimension and eventually all timelines, but now it ceased to exist, creating a new timeline safe from its reach. What happened to these versions of Elise and Sonic was never discovered.
I'd like to think that that Elise and Sonic went off to their own timeline or universe and just lived happily ever after, assuming Elise apologizes for assaulting Sonic.
I'm sure that they were just wiped from the timeline.
But that doesn't happen. Wiping from the timeline? Like, I wish people would explain the time travel more, but you don't just simply get wiped. If that was the case, Silver wouldn't exist half the time.
Oh, huh. Fair enough.
Presently in the fourth timeline, when Soliana was celebrating the Festival of the Sun, Sonic attended, but he and Elise did not meet. And so Elise never shows up again in the story because she never became one of Sonic's friends.
In this new timeline, Eggman's lineage continued, and a descendant of his traveled back in time to capture Eggman and take his place. He called himself Eggman Nega to differentiate himself from his ancestor. Eggman's failures had tarnished the Robotnik name, and Eggman Nega wanted to show his ancestor how world domination should be done. Silver, who now had lived a happy life, went back in time to apprehend Eggman Nega.
Sonic rivals. Eggman Nega used a futuristic camera to turn anyone that opposed him into a collectible card. Eventually, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and Silver exposed him as an imposter. Then, even Eggman assisted them in defeating Eggman Nega.
That's funny.
Yep.
200 years later in the fourth timeline, Silver returned with Eggman Nega in custody shortly after they had left this peaceful time period. However, Eggman Nega eventually escaped and went back in time to try once more.
Presently in the fifth timeline, Eggman Nega learned about the existence of Ifrit from Gerald Robotnik's research, and he wanted to use it to conquer the world. He tricked Rouge into gathering the Chaos Emeralds that he used to open a portal to the Chaos Inferno Zone dimension, and fed Ifrit a steady diet of chow to bait it out.
What? No! He's literally eating babies!
Yeah, Eggman Nega's worse than Eggman.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
He's just slightly more competent. He also built his own Sonic doppelganger called Metal Sonic 3.0, who subdued Ifrit to obey Eggman Nega. Under his command, Ifrit destroyed the world until it was barely livable. Okay, he's not that much more competent.
200 years later in the fifth timeline, once again Silver was born into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. He traveled back in time to prevent this.
What?
That's hilarious.
Also, where was Blaze in this timeline? Did she just not care?
I don't know.
Iblis, cool. Ifrit, nah. Presently in the 6th timeline, Silver exposed Eggman Nega's plans to save the future.
Sonic Rivals 2. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Rouge, Silver, Metal Sonic, Espio, and Eggman all work together to defeat Metal Sonic 3.0, Eggman, Nega, and Ifrit, eventually sealing them away in the alternate dimension.
I like the idea that Metal Sonic was like, I'm not, I am version 1. I'm going after this version 3. And we're all like, wait, whatever happened to version 2? We're like, I don't know, I guess he retired. Sonic Rush. Eggman Nega would still come to be born in this new timeline, and he traveled back to the past and instead decided to team up with Eggman to work together to conquer the world instead of replacing him. 2 Eggmans are better than 1. They discovered the Soul Dimension, and Eggman Nega stole the Soul Emeralds from there. Blaze followed him to try to stop him, but ran into Cream and Vanilla, befriending them. Without the Soul Emeralds, this universe began to merge with the Soul Dimension, and both Eggmans wanted to build an empire across both worlds. However, Supersonic with the Chaos Emeralds and Burning Blaze with the Soul Emeralds beat both of them and returned to their home dimensions with their respective set of emeralds.
Okay, then.
So what's the plural of Eggman? Is it Eggmans or is it Eggmen? Also, remember how we said Eggman had to have a kid? This is why, because Eggman Nega's descended from him.
Sonic Rush Adventure. Eggman and Eggman Nega were stuck in the Soul Dimension, and they jointly created a new robot called Captain Whisker to search for something called the Jeweled Scepter, a magical artifact that controlled entire dimensions. With the help of Tails and Marine the raccoon, Sonic and Blaze defeated Johnny, a robot water biker, and Captain Whisker. Then Supersonic and Burning Blaze defeated both Eggmans, and Silver returned with Eggman Nega to the future.
Yeah, so Captain Whisker is Eggman and Eggman's robot baby.
Sonic Riders, go.
Eggman hosted the EX World Grand Prix, promising to award the Chaos Emeralds to the victor, though he was actually hoping to find Babylonian treasure. Sonic and his friends entered the game, but so did the descendants of the Babylon Rogues, including Jet the Hawk, Storm the Albatross, and Wave the Swallow. Eggman was disappointed to find the treasure was just the magic carpet.
What's the magic carpet?
They race on these things called Extreme Gear. And the magic carpet was the original version made by the Babylonians.
Oh, I see.
It's a magic carpet. You fly around on it. That's basically all it is.
All right. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Eggman created a front security company called Meteor Tech that built futuristic appliances, weapons, and robots. The company became popular and was used by many nations around the world. Right before Eggman was going to command them to attack, the Arcs of the Cosmos finally crashed back down and one hit the Meteor Tech mainframe. The robots began frantically trying to return Babylon Garden to working order. In the mayhem, Sonic, his friends, and the Babylonian rogues tried to stop Eggman and the leader of his robots, SCRHD, who had ingested the Arcs of the Cosmos, but they defeated it with the Black Hole. The Babylonian rogues learned much of their history and their people's technology.
Yeah, that one was kind of complicated. But basically, one of the racing robots, SCRHD, overthrows Eggman for a little while. Mm-hmm. Also, the front company, that was weird.
Yeah.
Sonic and the Secret Rings. The enchanted book, The Arabian Nights, told a story about King Shahryar having King Solomon seal evil spirits away. A razor jinn had been responsible, and he was sealed away in a lamp by Shahra, the jinn of the ring. After serving his 1,000-year sentence, Eraser began absorbing the words of the text to enact his revenge. As he did so, the world became less fictional. But it also faced a crisis at being absorbed by Eraser. To prevent Eraser from erasing their story and invading the real world, Shahra reached out to Sonic in the real world to save them. Actually, I think this is a really interesting idea. The idea of like a fictional character trying to become real. I don't know. I like the meta-ness of it.
Mm-hmm. Sonic entered the Arabian Nights, and due to his imagination, he imagined many of the characters in the story as alternate universe versions of his friends, though Big secretly followed him into this world just for fun. That's funny. With the help of Shara, Alibaba, who was Tails' doppelganger, and Sinbad the Sailor, who was Knuckles' doppelganger, Sonic and Eraser Poof absorbed the world rings and transformed, but Super Sonic defeated Alf Layla Walayla?
Yes.
Sonic and Big exited the book once it became fictional again, with additional stories of their intervention appended.
Sonic and the Black Knight. The enchanted book King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table told a story about Merlin the Wizard using the forces of the underworld to sire a child between King Uther Pendragon and Lady Igraine, named Arthur, who was raised by Sir Ector. Upon adulthood, only Arthur could pull the sentient sword Caliburn out of its stone, and he ended up a king. He upgraded Caliburn into Excalibur and saved his kingdom many times, but he corrupted, becoming the Black Knight, enslaving his people. Merlin's granddaughter, Merlina, managed to read the end of the book to find out how their story ended in despair. She reached into the real world to find Sonic and asked him to save them.
So a character in the book managed to see the ending.
It's like a prophecy. Mm-hmm. I foresaw the last chapter.
Sonic entered King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and due to his imagination, he imagined many of the characters in the story as alternate universe versions of his friends. With the help of Lady Nimue, who was Amy's doppelganger, the blacksmith, who was Tails' doppelganger, Sir Lancelot, who was Shadow's doppelganger, Sir Gawain, who was Knuckles' doppelganger, Sir Percival, who was Blaze's doppelganger, Sir Galahad, who was Silver's doppelganger, and Sir Lamorak, who was Jet's doppelganger. Sonic defeated King Arthur, but Merlina betrayed Sonic and used the underworld to become the Dark Queen to preserve her fiction's reality at the cost of enslaving its people. Using Excalibur, Sonic defeated her. Sonic exited the book once it became fictional again, with additional stories of his intervention appended.
Sonic Unleashed. Eggman invented a robot advisor named Orbot, but even Orbot got annoyed at Eggman's failures. When Eggman pretended to attack the world with a space fleet, Super Sonic stopped him. Eggman pled for mercy but then pounced on Sonic, using him as a power source for a chaos energy cannon that blasted deep into the world, triggering Dark Gaia's revival in a new but premature time of awakening.
In so doing, the Chaos Emeralds were made useless, and Sonic was corrupted into Sonic the Werehog.
Yep.
What?
This is when he becomes a werewolf.
Like Gaia was released as well, and he took the form of a Mobian named Chip, though he hit his head and had amnesia. Sonic and Chip went around the world to use the Gaia temples to recharge the Chaos Emeralds. When they faced Dark Gaia, it took its power back from Sonic and transformed into perfect Dark Gaia, and then Chip used the Gaia temples as a mech, becoming Gaia Colossus. Chip beat Dark Gaia and was sealed within the core of the world along with Dark Gaia.
Any questions?
Nope.
I never beat this game. It was just too much of a pain to play, honestly.
Have you played it?
I own it.
Oh, I see.
But it just wasn't fun. Mm-hmm. This is when the Sonic games stopped being fun. Sonic Colors. Eggman claimed to have reformed and built Dr. Eggman's incredible interstellar amusement park, a space superstructure built out of the remains of other planets he conquered. First of all,
what? He conquered planets?
Yeah, but he couldn't ever conquer the one Sonic was on, so he just conquered some other random planets. Also, if someone conquers planets and says they reformed, maybe they're lying.
Yeah.
I'm totally a good guy now, so I just conquered other planets you don't care about. Actually, okay, that checks out. That works for America, why not Robotnik?
Yep.
Those planets had little life, only containing wisps. However, that gave Eggman the idea to conquer Planet Wisp, to utilize the hyper-go-on magic they possessed. Orbot and his new robot named Cubot advised him as he oversaw development. One of the amusement areas contained virtual hedgehog robots that customers could fight.
Oh, okay. Sonic befriended the ambassador of the Wisp named Yacker, and Tails made a translator for Sonic and Yacker. Together they freed the Wisp from Eggman's control and destroyed his amusement park. However, a black hole was created in the destruction, corrupting the Mother Wisp into the Nega Mother Wisp, but Super Sonic defeated her and returned her to normal. I was worried she was gonna be thrown into the black hole or something.
Oh, no, she survives. Sonic Generations. Eggman discovered the Time Eater in space. He captured it and mechanically modified it to put it under his control. He wanted to use it to erase Sonic from history, but he decided to get help from someone who was almost, but not quite as smart as himself. So Eggman used the Time Eater to enter a parallel dimension, one that was nearly identical to his own, with the exception that this parallel dimension was a few years behind, relatively speaking. Eggman kidnapped his alternate self, who he dubbed Classic Eggman, and made him agree to work for himself.
Yeah.
That's a sentence.
Yep.
For the record, I think this is hilarious, because if Eggman was working with Eggman Nega, another alternate Eggman, he has the short end of the stick, because Eggman Nega has futuristic technology and more wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. So Eggman wanted to find a past version of himself so he could be the elder.
That's funny. Under their control, Time Eater began creating time holes to transport heroes to the void between dimensions called white space, as well as various points in time in either dimension. But eventually, Sonic and Classic Sonic teamed up together and defeated Time Eater, Eggman, and Classic Eggman. They trapped them in white space, undoing their misdeeds, though eventually both versions of Eggman escaped and returned to their separate dimensions. Are you just assuming they escaped and returned to their
Well, they
dimension?
show up again later. They have to escape at some point.
Because they didn't even bother thinking of the implications of putting them in white space.
I mean, it's like Team Rocket blast off again. Eventually, they trek their way back.
Yeah, they trek their way back from space. Sure.
Meteors, whatever. Anyway, 200 years later in the 6th timeline. Once again, Silver returned with Eggman Nega in custody shortly after they had escaped his previous custody in the peaceful time period. However, this future was undone when the Time Eater had manipulated time and space.
Presently in the 7th timeline, after Classic Sonic returned to his world, the Phantom Ruby entered the Classic Sonic dimension, and Classic Eggman acquired it.
That's bad. You realize that? The Phantom Ruby is the thing we mentioned at the very beginning of the first episode, in that it's this interdimensional artifact. It's the most powerful thing in the Sonic universes.
Wow.
So it appears in the classic Sonic universe, or dimension, rather. Mm-hmm. Sonic Mania. Classic Eggman built the hard-boiled heavies to fetch it for him, but they used its power for their own benefit. Classic Supersonic, Classic Tails, Classic Knuckles, Classic Mighty, and Classic Ray used the Classic Chaos Emeralds to defeat Classic Eggman, Classic Metal Sonic, the hard-boiled heavies, and their leader, who had begun calling himself the Phantom King. Soon after, the Phantom Ruby vanished.
All right. Sonic Lost World. Eggman discovered the Lost Hex and an artifact called the Cacophonic Conch. With it, he enslaved a group of Zeti called the Deadly Six, which included Master Zik, Zavox, Zaz, Xena, Zamam, and Zor. Eggman began converting the animals in the Lost Hex into badniks, but the Zeti revolted and turned against him. The Zeti kidnapped Tails and converted him into Mecha Tails to fight Sonic, and they also used Eggman's extractor to suck the life out of the world. Sonic and Mecha Tails defeated the Zeti and Eggman, and then they unconverted Tails back to normal. Again.
Yes. They'd never explained how they unconverted him.
It doesn't even show Tails unconverted.
Maybe, but I don't remember. But they don't explain it. For the record, this game looks nice. It has good graphics. but it's probably the worst story. I would argue even worse than Sonic 2006.
Yeah.
Because Sonic the Lost World, all of the Zeddy characters are like basically offensive stereotypes.
Oh, I see.
Oh, not all of them. I think Zavik is all right. But like the one woman, they have one woman demon, Xena. Mm-hmm. And she's a stereotypical like young woman who does her nails and crap. Oh. Which I wouldn't even mind so much, except they insult her constantly for doing it. Even Sonic. Sonic is literally misogynist in this game.
Oh, I see.
Not only that, they made Eggman say some really fat-phobic comments to Zamon. And it's like, Eggman wouldn't do that. Eggman understands what he's going through. If there's anything Eggman's going to do, it's be like, you're too democratic. But he's not going to be like, you're too overweight. Come on. What?
I think it's funny that you think Eggman's more against democracy than fat phobia.
Well, yes.
Or more against fat phobia than... I
got what you meant. I got what you meant. But yeah, because I mean, we've been over this before. We should probably move on.
Yep.
See our last episode where we talked about Eggman reclaiming his his body shape.
All right.
Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. I think this one's interesting. This one I think is really underrated.
I can see that's quite long.
It's because it's the first time that Sonic tried to do an RPG.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's cool.
It was also the last time because it didn't sell as well, but it's a shame. Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. Compared to this dimension, time flowed at a very different rate in the Twilight Cage. While it had been thousands of years in this dimension, it had only been a few years for the Nocturnus clan since they had been captured and forced to live in the Eldritch dimension of the Twilight Cage. Even so, they had incorporated the technology of the other species there, along with Eldritch science, to augment their society to the point that they didn't even really resemble echidnas anymore. Imperator Ix saw to the conquering of the other civilizations there until all of the alien species were incorporated into his empire, including the Zoa, Kron, Nurgle, and Voxai. But even that was not enough.
So this is why we know what other civilizations are in the Twilight Cage. I see.
So what do you think about the fact they're still around? The time flowing differently? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I think it's hilarious that they go to the Twilight Cage for punishment and they're like, well, we'll conquer this place too.
It's like being sent to the underworld to meet the devil and you just take over.
Yep. Eventually, Ix discovered a way to escape the Twilight Cage and sent marauders to their old world in the dimension from whence they came to conquer it and incorporate it into their empire. Only Gun was aware of the Nocturnus clan's operations, and the commander of Gun reached out to Rouge to ask Sonic and his friends to put an end to the invaders.
So, conspiracy time. Gun knows about this and they're just not telling anyone except for a few heroes.
Apparently, yeah.
Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy had just defeated Eggman once again and nearly killed him. He survived but was severely wounded, having to be nursed back to health. After Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, and Big agreed to help with Rouge's mission, they found the wounded Eggman. He did not try to fight them, and he told them that, with everything he lost in his last fight, he was done fighting Sonic, and that he wanted to reform. Sonic accepted this offer if Eggman agreed to help them defeat the Nocturnus clan, and Eggman agreed.
So this is what, the fourth time they're working together?
Yeah, but this is the first time Eggman really reforms. He's genuinely helping them. It's not like an enemy of my enemy thing.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They're not just allies.
Yeah, they're not just allies with a common enemy. It's only afterwards that he even finds out about the Nocturnus clan. Mm-hmm. He genuinely just is like, it's not worth it anymore.
That must be sad, actually.
Why?
Because, Eggman just deciding that it wasn't worth it anymore.
Oh, why? The dictator's depressed. But honestly, I like this. Again, RPG, there's actual story development here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Omega joined Sonic's team when the Nocturnus clan tried to pull Angel Island, the Master Emerald, into the Twilight Cage. With Eggman's help, they repurposed one of his giant lasers to fight the Nocturnus clan. Shade the Echidna was the lead procurator under Imperial Ix, but when she discovered Ix was trying to conquer the world and not simply return home, she too joined Sonic's team. However, Ix escaped with all the emeralds.
She's like, wait, the Imperator Ix is a bad guy? But Imperator was such a friendly title. Sorry. Eggman helped create a ship for Sonic's team to send them through a portal to the Twilight Cage. Eggman operated the portal and launched the rest of them into the other dimension, and they bowed a temporary farewell. Once in the Twilight Cage, Sonic's team began liberating the aliens from the Nocturnus clan. Each civilization possessed some of the Chaos Emeralds, which were to be used in the wars they were forced to fight.
Sonic's team first aided the Kron to revolt for freedom, and then defeated the leader of the Zoa, who was then honor-bound to follow Sonic to freedom. Without the Zoa's threat over the Nurgle, they too joined Sonic's rebellion. The Voxai were ruled by the Overmind, a multi-conscious council entity of their species, loyal to Ix, but Sonic's team performed a coup to oust the Overmind in favor of another Voxai named Thebus. Okay, then.
Sonic does a coup.
Yep.
Sonic does a coup.
Come on, we gotta get through the rest of the game.
For the record, it's a little questionable that he ousts a council and puts in a single leader.
Yeah.
Look, the Overmind was bad and Thebes is nice, so I guess it's okay in this instance, but Thebes, maybe invest in structural reform. In fact, please hurry before you cement yourself in power for life.
Okay.
And maybe Sonic, you should have mandated that. I'm just saying. United, Sonic's team and the four civilizations confronted the Nocturnus clan and fought them, as well as Ix's two personal Gizoids, Prefect Cherub and Prefect Scylla. Eventually, Super Sonic fought Super Ix and defeated him, destroying the Nocturnus Empire. Sonic's team bowed farewell to their new friends and left to go back to their world, and Shade decided to join them.
That's funny.
Why?
Because they like, no, you still have to stay in the Twilight Cage, but we'll leave you alone.
I guess they could have come over if they wanted to, but I
don't think Sonic and his friends would have liked for them to come over. Like, they're in the Twilight Cage for a reason.
They would have had to bring over their whole planets. That would have been hard.
Oh, I see. Several years later, in the seventh timeline, time flowed at a very different rate in the Twilight Cage. While it had been only days in the Twilight Cage, several years had passed for the world Sonic called home. Perhaps Eggman truly waited for Sonic's team to return, but Sonic wouldn't return for years. When the Phantom Ruby appeared in this dimension for the first time, Eggman did not pass up the opportunity to conquer the world without having to worry about Sonic stopping him.
So what do you think?
Of course.
But I think this is cool because it's not like Eggman just like betrayed Sonic or whatnot. Sonic was gone for a long time and Eggman's like, what'd you expect me to do? If you weren't going to be here to stop me, did you really think I wasn't going to try and conquer the world? Mm-hmm. It's who I am. Although, again, okay, I guess he did lie, but like my point is Sonic wasn't around to be betrayed.
Okay.
What?
Let's keep going.
I think this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, Sonic the Brotherhood ends on a cliffhanger, but it leads into the next game. Well, again, not chronologically, because the timeline's all weird, but I think this is probably where it goes. What? What?
You got a bunch left.
I know. It's my turn.
All right.
The Chaos Emeralds were gone, but using the Phantom Ruby, Eggman easily rebuilt his resources and infrastructure, eventually conquering more of the world for his Eggman empire than he ever had before. He even made Phantom Ruby prototypes, artificial replicas of the real thing. One day, one of his bases was attacked by the Jackal Squad, a gang of mercenary Mobians that wanted to pilfer the Phantom Ruby. Eggman defeated them easily and enticed their leader to join him. The Jackal Squad protested, but Eggman coerced them anyway.
By the time that Sonic and his friends returned to this world, the Eggman Empire was just beginning. Shadow went after the Jackal Squad, killing all of them aside from their leader. Ashamed of his weakness, the Jackal Squad leader asked that Eggman make him stronger. Eggman offered to make him the leader of his entire army if he could be experimented upon. He accepted, and Eggman infused a Phantom Ruby prototype into the Mobian, who then renamed himself Infinite. With his new reality-altering powers, Infinite got revenge upon Shadow by defeating him, Rouge, and Omega.
With the Phantom Ruby's power, Eggman constructed virtual but deadly replicas of what he felt were some of the strongest foes Sonic had faced. His entire army consisted of spawned instances of Metal Sonic, Shadow, Zavik, and Chaos Zero. Eggman sent all of his forces against Sonic, including Infinite, and they defeated Sonic easily, eventually imprisoning him on the Death Egg 4.
We're on Death Egg number 4 now.
Yes. But they defeated Sonic for the first time. Eggman finally won.
Yep. In time, Eggman would demand that the nations of the world concede to his rule. With his limitless armies, none could refuse, even the United Federation and Gun. Within a matter of months, the Eggman Empire encompassed the entire world. Only a small resistance bothered Eggman, which was entirely comprised of rebel Mobians fighting in Sonic's memory.
200 years later in the 7th timeline, Silver was born into the Eggman Empire, a regime that far outlasted the lifespan of the man himself. Presumably being ruled by the latest in a long line of Eggman dictators, Silver traveled back in time to prevent the Eggman Empire from developing. Silver is literally their test for, hey, you messed up in the future.
Presently in the 8th timeline. However, Silver's time jump was limited by technology since he had no Chaos Emeralds, and he resigned himself to just joining the Resistance.
For the record, we are completely assuming that, because it makes no sense why he would go to only after the Resistance and not prevent it from happening in the first place.
Yep.
Sonic Forces.
Okay, so is this what happens at the end of the last game, or where does the last game end and this one begin?
A lot of that was prologue to this game.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So at the end of the last game, all you see is Eggman conquering the world with the
right, but you're not given
Ruby.
much. You're not given much context, but he conquers the world
I see.
while Sonic is gone.
Yeah,
and in this game, they tell you how he conquered the world.
I see. Okay, fair enough.
And that's the beginning of the game.
Yep.
During one of Infinite's raids, he massacred a bunch of Mobians, but he spared one who cowardly ran instead of fighting. This mysterious Mobian was known only as the Avatar, and hoping to redeem themselves, they joined the Resistance. After surviving numerous beatdowns, the Avatar assisted the Resistance in rescuing Sonic from his imprisonment, and made a raid upon the facility where they discovered another Phantom Ruby prototype that Eggman had neglected to destroy. So, by the way, the Avatar is basically your self-insert character. Mm-hmm. It's the one where...
Sonic OC, please don't steal.
It's the one where you got to create your own Sonic character, which honestly, I think is a cool thing.
Because there have been Sonic OCs forever.
I think it's cool to let people do that, let players make their own character. It is a little creepy though when you're playing it, as they simultaneously have a very written story for the character you get to make up, so there's not much freedom in who you be and in your actions. Mm-hmm. They make you a coward from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But also, it just seems like a power fantasy, but not power, but like a social fantasy. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, you're friends with Sonic and Knuckles and Silver and all them. Yeah. Aren't you happy about that? And I'm like, okay, but can I just do the things instead of helping the people do the things?
Mm-hmm. The Resistance, consisting of Sonic, Classic Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Silver, Shadow, Rouge, Omega, Vector, Espio, Charmy, the Avatar, and many others, conducted an all-out assault upon Eggman's center of operations containing the Phantom Ruby. The Avatar was able to fight Infinite, now evenly matched, and when Infinite tried to edit a new sun into existence over the battlefield, the Avatar used his power to delete it. Eventually, Sonic used the Chaos Emeralds he had hidden away to defeat Eggman and banish him through a vortex. The Phantom Ruby soon after disappeared to yet some other universe.
The Resistance then oversaw the process of rebuilding the world after the collapse of the Eggman Empire, emphasizing that no one person was capable of the task, that all beings would need to work together to ensure a fair and happy world for them all. Knowing this, the Avatar left the Resistance and soon after disappeared from history.
Yeah, just leave all my new friends.
Yeah, that was a very weird plot development.
It's because they could never have that character return.
They could have, though.
Yeah, they could have. They just didn't want to bother. They wanted to clean it up so that they could ignore it and use a completely different story.
It's completely contradicting the message, although I love the message.
Mm-hmm.
The message is about, like, this totalitarian imperialist regime conquers the world. We fight against it. We dismantle it together. No one person is the hero. We all had to work together to dismantle this regime. And then we all have to pick up the pieces and build it together. No one person is going to be able to do reconstruction successfully. All of us have to do it together. Only together can we make a functioning society. I think that is the moral core of Sonic, that government institutions are inherently immoral, and that the only solution is individuals working together to live happy and peaceful lives.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
But Avatar's not into it, so Avatar goes away.
Yeah.
We got one more line.
200 years later, in the 8th timeline, Silver was born into a peaceful future, hopefully for good this time.
And we'll see when the next game comes out. Basically, most times when Silver appears, it's messed up. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes Silver shows up and like, oh, Silver, you okay? And, oh, everything's good. I'm just showing up to race this time.
What about Sonic Boom?
Sonic Boom is an entirely different dimension. It's the Sonic Boom dimension.
Oh, I see.
It's a TV show.
Apparently the show is hilarious.
Well, it's a whole TV show, so it's considered a different form of media. We didn't talk about Sonic Boom.
There wasn't a game?
Well, we didn't talk about Sonic Boom. We didn't talk about Sonic X. We didn't talk about Sonic Underground.
I see.
But technically, they did actually make some games based on the Sonic Boom timeline.
Oh, I see.
So there are some games, but it's not considered part of the same game dimension and universe and timeline.
Ah, I see. Okay, fair enough.
And the way you can easily tell is their proportions are different with their the designs.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I think people criticize them, and I'm like, yeah, they're not that bad.
What about Sonic Mania?
Sonic Mania was a game.
Was it in a separate universe?
Technically, yes. It was in the classic Sonic dimension.
Oh, I see.
We only talked about the classic Sonic dimension and as far as it related to this one.
I see. It's good to focus on the main dimension.
Exactly, because there's some crossover and some bleeding over that happens. There's also so many different Sonic comic dimensions. Yeah. There's like a whole like DC Sonic multiverse, basically.
There's the movie, which apparently has nothing to do with the main story.
Oh yeah, by the time this podcast comes out, many of you may have seen the movie. I wonder if you'll be still interested in Sonic 2 weeks later, whatever. But the movie apparently, like the storyline, does not match what we talked about at all.
Yeah.
They are rather upfront with Sonic basically being an alien, so cool, I guess. But I don't know. Product placement was strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they might the Sonic movie was a huge success financially, so they might get a whole Sonic cinematic universe, which I'm fine with. And you know what? It doesn't have to match the game story because, like I said, most of the other media it doesn't match. We're just doing the game the game timeline because I think that's the one that's the most popular.
Yep.
I mean, it's the one I know best.
Yeah.
But like Sonic X, there's a whole alien subplot where they meet like a race of plant aliens.
Okay.
Sorry, a species, but they call it a race, whatever. Sonic Underground was about Sonic and his siblings as kids trying to find their lost mother.
Okay, then.
And the Sonic comics, Sonic gets several girlfriends.
Okay,
There's like a cyborg bunny. There's some type of weasel thing. There's Scourge the Hedgehog.
Okay.
There's also, like, again, alternate Sonic comic dimensions. Like, there's one where everyone's robots. There's one where Eggman won a long time ago, where Eggman was competent.
Wow.
I'm sure there's more. I don't remember most of them. By the way, how many times did Eggman lose before he finally won? Right?
Oh, I don't know. A lot. And then he ended up losing anyway.
I haven't counted here, but I think it's over 30.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. And those are just the ones we know about.
Yeah, not to mention all the ones in the other universes.
Yeah. So do you have any questions? Anything you want to discuss, Kira?
I think I'm good. I can't think of anything to ask other, like...
We need an Amy Rose game.
Oh my god, yes. I agree with that. That would be really cool.
And I mean a good one. I don't mean one that's all pink and sold for the girls.
I think Amy Rose game would be really cool. Like, talk about her friendship with Cream the Rabbit. Even maybe whatever kind of relationship she has with Vanilla, Cream's mom.
Or Big.
Yeah.
Big the cat.
And Emerald. You know, something where she's the important one.
Here's the thing. If they ever make an Amy game, what's most likely going to happen is it's coated in pink and it's sold as a game for girls and it's completely meaningless and all about relationships. Mm-hmm. Kind of like they did with that Super Princess Peach game.
Oh.
The second possibility, if they know better than to do number one, they'll do number two, where they instead try to masculinize her. Where they're like, she's not like the other girls. She has to become like a big warrior and do a whole bunch of like fighting and beating people up and stuff. You know, like lean in feminism, right?
Yeah.
Even that would be an improvement over anything we've seen.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it still, obviously, like, it has its flaws.
Yeah.
The best thing would simply be like, let's explain Amy's story. You don't have to change her. She can still be feminine. But maybe let's make the story something about other than relationships. Let's give her another focus, another purpose. Mm. We've seen her grocery shopping before. Where does she get the money? What's her job? What is Amy's job? She lives in the city.
She does grocery shopping?
We saw her once grocery shopping.
Really?
In Sonic Adventure, yes.
Oh, okay then.
She was in, was it Union Square or something? But the point is that she somehow has an income. Which means she has a job, and she lives in the city, so that makes sense. Is she a telemarketer? Is she like a customer service representative? Let's see her career field. Maybe the game has her having to face some misogyny. They can call it out. And then maybe she has to overcome that. Maybe she climbs the corporate ladder, although I don't want to do that. I don't want to do like lean into the corporate structure. Again, Sonic is very anti-imperialist. Maybe she rebels against the corporate structure. Maybe she quits her job and finds some like activism to do. Maybe like anti-Eggman activism. Like, hey, let's not let Eggman conquer us for a 30th time or fail to do so. Let's just, maybe lock him up so we don't have to deal with this anymore. He has committed many, many crimes. It would be a long sign, but still, good sign.
Okay.
Okay, we should probably go now.
All right.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Kira.
Bye.
Bye.